Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, where James Bale, who is now a 40-year-old man, talks to Tim Ford, who is not a 40-year-old man, about the sport of triathlon. Jimbo, mate, belated happy birthday. I'm sure I
Cheers,
can
geezer.
say it to you on behalf of thousands of listeners. Jimbo, welcome to middle age. Not that I can welcome you because I'm not there yet, obviously, but on behalf of all of those that have gone before me, welcome to middle age.
I made it, mate. I made it to 40. And the first thing that's happened to me since I've crossed that threshold is I'm now absolutely full of cold. But I think it was just because it was a lot of traveling at the weekend, a lot of sitting on tubes in London, general public, germs everywhere, and then a lot of alcohol on Sunday night, which I think dipped my immune system and allowed a little virus to get in. So I'm a little bit croaky this morning and full of head cold, which is great. So
And
how are you, mate?
Well, I'm not going to go and try to run a 20-kilometer trail race tomorrow. Are you sure, much like with your hip injury, this is the best decision?
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna go out and have a bit of fun tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's not. There's no pressure on tomorrow's race.
You know what? It's so funny because again, so everyone playing along at home, we've just recorded a bonus episode for our patrons, which you can find at patreon.com/talking triathlon. But you were talking about how you're doing your 20K trail race tomorrow, Thursday. This is we're actually recording a day early this week. And then Friday is going to be a designated day on the couch. And I'm thinking, considering the news you've given me, maybe there should be no trail race and just a couple of designated days on the couch because I feel like
Yeah.
going for a 20K run when you've got a head cold will lead to a full-on all body cold, which will then mean many days on the couch, except not
I've been
enjoyable.
looking forward to this, mate. The weather's going to be banging, and I've been really looking forward to this 20K. And it's not like I'm not racing it. It'll be walking up the hills, cruising down the other side, and just enjoying a bit of countryside. So I'll go and get it done. I think this cold will have lifted by tomorrow morning anyway. It's only a brief immune system dip after a 13-hour drive.
One should be old before they're wise, but apparently you are not old enough yet, James Bell, because I hear what you're saying and I still think it's silly. But you know what, mate? You're a big boy, you literally are. So good luck with it. I'm sure you'll be fine. I say with a huge smile on my face that people at youtube.com can see as well. Mate, there's been plenty of happening in the world of triathlon this week. We should probably get straight into it. And I think the logical place to start is London, because that's where you
Yes,
were.
mate.
That's where your birthday was. So tell us, mate, let's talk about the London Marathon.
The London Marathon is the single greatest day of racing and sporting event that I know of. Um, Obviously, yeah, I mean, something like Paris-Roubaix is up there as something I enjoy watching on TV. But when it comes to either being part of the race, racing, or spectating, there's no better experience than the London Marathon because it brings the city together. A city that is generally pretty grumpy, pretty silent, as you're traveling around the tubes, you don't really speak to people. On this day, everyone's chatting, everyone's having fun. It's packed, but it's friendly. The atmosphere is off the scale. Um, I obviously wasn't racing because I deferred due to my injury, so I'll be racing next year with you. Um, so I missioned down to Greenwich first towards the Cutty Sark and watched the very start of the race, which was about 7 miles in by the time they got there.
What did you say? Near the what?
The Cutty Sark, it's a big boat
Okay.
near
Didn't
Greenwich.
know that.
It's like an old sailboat. So watched the elites go by on the 7 mile mark, and then got the tube up to Canary Wharf because there you can. That's a brief stint, and they fuck off and do a big loop and come back, so you can watch the elites go through again. Um, and then I stayed there for a bit longer. Watched the. I missed. No, I didn't. I missed the wheelchair athletes go through, but I caught the start of the women's elites and then the male elites, and then I stayed there until the championship runners came through because I had a friend who'd got a championship slot, and she went on to run a 3:04. So congratulations, Hannah. Well done.
Amazing.
Um, Watching the elites go through is outstanding though, and it was the first time I've seen Kipchoge in person, and I was looking forward to that. And yeah, man can run, eh?
Mate, what a just he is really just one of the best. Like it's there is this, I guess, sort of sense of he's obviously getting towards the end of his career. Things are starting to sort of peter out a little bit, but like the fact that he's come to Sydney this year to do the marathon, like I'm gonna after I had the best time last year, I'm so keen to go in there, and even if it's just to watch a bit of it, but to see him in person, I think would be such a cool. Like it's one of those things you want to be able to say, I saw Kipchoge run. Like I was there when
Yeah,
he.
yeah, totally. I was stoked for it. But what really surprised me, and for some reason I don't know why it surprised me because numbers are numbers. I know that Alex Yee was aiming for a 210 to 28 to 210. And so, of course, he's only going to be a few minutes behind the male elites. But for some reason, I thought he was going to be like in the championship wave, or a bit further back. I kind of hadn't really come to terms with the fact that he was starting in the elite wave. And so as soon as the leaders went by, you had a quick chat with somebody, and boom, there was Alex Yee, just running by, looking strong, man. And he's right up there. And it blew my mind a little bit, to be
Well,
honest.
look, this is a triathlon podcast, and if people want to find out the actual results of the London Marathon, I'm sure there are many incredible running. There's probably one called Talking Running, to be honest. So go check
Yeah.
those guys out who can talk about. We want to talk about our boy flying the swim, bike, run flag himself, Alex Yee, the Olympic champion. What a performance from Alex Yee! Incredible, just incredible stuff.
Yeah, so Alex Yee finished with a 2:11:08 in 14th place, which is remarkable because the winner, Sebastian Soy from Kenya, did a 2:02:27. 10th place was 2:09:01, and Alex Yee was only 2:11:08 to finish in 14th. So the top 15 place, remarkable that the Olympic gold medalist in triathlon can turn his hand to a top 15 place in one of the most elite marathons in the world.
And it sounds like conditions weren't ideal for it either. And again, I understand that my concept of hot and yours is slightly different. But if 26 in the UK coming out of like winter, that actually would be pretty horrific for you guys who struggle in 20 degrees. So I can imagine it was pretty rough out there.
Yeah, it was a hot day, kind of day where I'm having to smear suntan lotion on my little bald head because because the sun, it was very still.
Hmm.
So there was no real wind or anything, no cooling effect, and the sun was hard to escape. If you were in it, it was on you type thing. A lot of people were suffering out there with heat, and it made the traveling around a little bit more difficult. But yeah, really impressive stuff from him. And I would be interested to see what he could do if he really committed himself. Almost in a parallel universe. What's Alex Yee capable of if he committed himself solely to long distance running like this? Because surely if you can be the Olympic medalist last summer and then finish that, commit to a training block of running and run a 2:11:08 and come 14th. Surely if you commit long term to long distance running, you've got scope to go a little bit faster than that and perhaps be in that really elite group up the front.
Well, speaking of Alex, something that I really love is that he's put his files on Strava. So you can actually do a bit of
Yeah,
a deep dive into how the race unfolded for him. Um, like looking at it, and again, there was a lot of discussion. It looks like he's 3 minutes, 3:03, 3:03, 3:03, 3:01, 3:04, 3:05, all the way down, and then we hit around that 32K mark where we know it starts to pinch for a lot of people. They always say you're pretty good until about 30K. At 30K, it goes to 309. Then we go to 310, 309, 314, 314, 314, 316, 321, 318. So he has sort of blown up a little bit, but I mean, the fact that it's it's funny, right? Like his experience is very similar to probably most people's marathon experience. It's just for us where we go like myself, I think I went from running 4 minute kilometers to 4:15 minute kilometers. He goes from running 3 minute kilometers to 3:15 to 20 minute kilometers.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's and again, like I really like this, in terms of distance, 42.36, so basically bang on. Heart rate looks like he averaged 178 beats per minute for
yeah.
42 kilometers. It's what do we got here? It's he was in zone 4 for 53.4% of the time.
Fastest time ever recorded by an Olympic triathlete in a marathon. He said, "The London Marathon, one of the best moments of my life. I didn't hit my goal, but I had the best time doing it. London, you really hit different," with a little hearty emoji thing. He said, "Once I got to 32, 33K, there was a lot of pain there. My legs are cramping, and I just had to keep fighting through that. My legs have never been this sore. Physically, they're quite similar, but my legs have never felt like this in my whole life. It's a new experience, definitely an amazing experience, but it was hard at the end. Emotions about time will come afterwards, but the main thing for me today was to enjoy it, do something unknown and embrace it. And I did that to the best of my ability. Oh, he really did, didn't he? He
Yeah,
really, really did.
I really love this. Like this is the sort of thing that gets me really, really excited. I love to see that this is why I love to see athletes stepping up distance and trying different things because there is this curiosity about it. But I really love that, this is a guy who's reached the pinnacle, worked 4 years toward, or 3 years, I should, or longer, but, got the silver in Tokyo, got the gold in Paris I mean, that finish with him and Hayden came up in my social media this week and I watched it again. I just thought, God damn, this was a good finish. Um, yeah, so to see him have that success and then go and do this and do it so well, you touched on it, and I think I know your answer a little bit, but in terms of the next, let's say 3.5 years, LA is the next Olympics. I could see Alex going and trying to defend his title in the triathlon, but do you think there's a universe where he goes, I'm going after the marathon in LA?
No, because he has said his switch to marathon running this year would definitely not be happening. It wouldn't be a permanent one, and he said his plans 100% is to go and defend his Olympic title in LA in 2028.
Okay.
Who knows after that? Because is it would he go to Ironman or would he go? I think there is a much more economically viable switch to long distance running for him than there is switching to Ironman. I think for an athlete, it Ironman, it's the unknown, isn't it? He may become a double Olympic gold medalist and then never factor in an Ironman race. What
I
he
know
could do is become a double Olympic gold medalist and then become one of the greatest British marathon runners of all time and have sponsors coming out of his arse.
Well, I know that I was in talks with a an Olympic marathon gold medalist recently about sponsoring them, and their fee was significantly higher, and I
Yeah.
mean significantly higher than any triathlete fee that I've
Yeah,
come.
yeah. So
It was
were I
crazy.
Alex Yee or Alex Yee's manager, mate, I would be saying, let's get this LA gold medal in the bag and then let's go and be a professional marathon runner together.
It was interesting because a few weeks ago I think we were talking about him versus Cassandra and how I see Cassandra runner who does triathlon. Oh, sorry, Cassandra triathlete who does running and Alex a runner who does triathlon. And somebody actually, I think it was on YouTube actually, so I'm sorry I can't remember
Right.
your name, but I appreciate the comment saying it's funny that I thought that because actually they were the opposites, whereas Cassandra was more of a runner growing up and Alex has been a triathlete because his dad did triathlon. And I did find that quite an interesting little piece of information. So sorry that I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Thank you though for that insight because it was fascinating. And I can't really put my finger on why it is. But I mean, I think looking at him running a 2:11 marathon, I think there's probably a lot of people now that are starting to think of Alexi very much as a, not that they haven't, but you can understand why I think of him a bit more as a runner who does doubles in a bit of triathlon. But no, I just think that like like I said, I mean, he really did our sport proud. He has gone out there, and as much as this is a thing for Alex Yee, I think this has been a statement, much like when Lionel Sanders did his hour record attempt during the pandemic. I think this it shows the world the level that these guys are at because there is a bit of a
Yeah.
misconception that triathlon is like why be good at one sport when you can be mediocre at three. No, those days are gone. It's you're good at you're a world class swimmer, biker, and runner who does all three at once. So it's great to
Oh,
see.
without question, yeah. I mean, it's like it's a lifetime's work, isn't it? Running one 2:11 marathon.
Mm,
For it's a lifetime's work that 99% of people on the planet wouldn't be able to achieve.
mm.
So to be able to do what he's done in triathlon and then to switch across training block for marathons and boom to get that kind of result, yeah, remarkable stuff. And I would love to see him do more of them. I would love to see what he could achieve in marathon running. How old is he?
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
No,
I do not
no.
know.
I'm
I am
just gonna
a
find out.
yeah, you can do. I am a geek for the sport, but I'm not an encyclopedia of knowledge. I'm
No.
guessing probably just under 30, maybe 27, 28, something like that.
Yeah, so he's 27.
Yeah,
Um, so 28,
31.
29, 30. He's going to be 30 by the time he gets to LA. Because he's, yeah. So that's more than enough time to then have, you know, 8 to 10 years running marathons. around the world, earning money, adulation, and then retire undefeated. Happy days.
There is, of course, they can't, I always you see him do this and you go, imagine him doing a long distance. And I don't know what toll the bike could take on his legs, but if he's, I think there's I could probably count on three fingers. I think that the number of Ironman athletes, I think in peak form could come close to doing what he did. Uh,
Weirdly, it doesn't interest me. Well, I see him run this marathon, and the idea of him doing Ironman, I'm like, no, don't do that. Do marathons.
yeah, yeah.
It doesn't excite me because I'm like, yeah, yeah, you may do all right in Ironman, you may not. I want to see him go and run marathons,
Yeah, I do too, actually. Now that I say it, like I said,
and then ultra
I've never seen his
marathons.
future. Oh no, no, that's not it, James Bale. There's nothing that appealing about. No, like, legit, I don't see Alex Yee doing Ironman. There's, like I said, there's some like a Richard Murray. I was so excited about the concept of Richard Murray going to do middle distance, and I think he did 170.3 and sort of hasn't done it since. So I think that we might see Alex Yee as one of those athletes who just. I mean, I have absolutely zero insight, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. But no, I think he did. I really want to congratulate him, and I mean to so many other people. I know we had a few our patrons who are out there running, a few friends who were running. So to everybody, congratulations. It did remind me of something though, Bale, because you did defer your entry from this year to next year because of a hip injury. And as I was driving this afternoon, I thought of something else that because I remember a similar situation popping up a couple of years ago. Now, regular listeners of this podcast before it was Talking Triathlon back in the old MX Endurance podcast days will remember there was one very weird episode we did where we got on the event organizer for the Norseman Triathlon. It was probably a little bit like, why is this guy on the podcast? This is a bit weird. And I believe the reason was that by doing that, James Bale got a free entry into the Norseman Triathlon.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Whatever happened to that?
I I had that entry. I had the code
Yeah,
to get that entry and to go and do it. And it was the year that it was the year after COVID. It was the year that basically I just fell out of love with the sport, stopped racing, and was like, I can't just enter a race and turn up and be shit at it. So I contacted them and said, look, oh sorry, I'll appreciate it, but no.
I didn't. I actually didn't know. So there you go. Thank you for enlightening me on that. But it did just make me think. Yeah, whatever happened to that Norseman entry that we did that
Yeah,
randomly?
yeah.
So,
It was, there was that period of time where I stopped loving it and stopped racing and stopped training and just didn't fancy it for a while.
fair enough. Well, look, let's keep going. Where do we want to go to next? We've literally got so many different things to talk about this week. We could talk about Texas. We could talk about the T100 start lists. We could talk about the confirmed dates for the T100 like Las Vegas race. We could talk about Valencia 70.3. We could talk about Challenge Gran Canaria. Where do you want to go next, mate?
Have a quick chat about Sam Laidlow because there's a bit of an update on
Okay, let's do it.
on his health condition. Because he put a post out on Instagram and he said, after 10 days of feeling grateful and excited to be able to train, thinking I'd flipped a switch, reality sunk in yesterday, realizing quite how far away I am from full health and fitness. It will be a big challenge to get back into the full swing in time for this season, but I'm ready to give it my best fucking shot. I owe this to everyone who supports the journey. And I just thought just a quick update, really, because obviously we mentioned him a few weeks ago, and how we were hoping he manages to get himself back on, and we'd seen some posts since between then and now saying he seemed to be sort of at least progressing and moving forward, but this post caught my eye because obviously he's starting to realize quite how far he is from where he was, and I think you and Belinda talked about it a bit last week about how much of
Yeah.
a hole he dug himself into at Ironman Kona. So yeah, hopefully we see this progress continue and that it's an upward swing from here.
No, I actually hope he doesn't come back this season, and it's not coming from a place of negative. I just hope he takes the time to properly get back. And if that means putting a pin in the season and just saying, you know what, all I'm going to do is cut corners or risk things or rush, I'd rather say, Sam, mate, you have been dynamite the last couple of seasons. Take a little bit of a break. Come back. Let's look at 2026. The race is in Kona. I know he's the defending East champion, which comes with it its sort of own baggage, but I just don't see anything good from a guy who's already put himself in a hole to try to rush back and then compete at that same level again. I don't see a positive outcome from that. So I'd rather see him be conservative this year and just say, yep, okay, I'm gonna just make sure I get right because I don't want to see him end up in a situation where he can't come back from. So maybe unpopular, but
Yeah,
that's what I personally hope.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I tend to agree with that. I just think I want to see a sensible management of his return, so that so that he keeps a grip on that reality, the reality of how far he's got to go, rather than trying to rush it, like you say, and cut the corners.
It was interesting to hear Belinda because Belinda has a bit more insight. I know she's very, very close to Sam's partner, but also, quite close with Sam. And I don't think she's telling secrets or anything, but the perspective that he has been doing this, like, he's basically been training as a full-time triathlete since he was a kid. It does come back to that discussion we've had in the past about the athlete's age versus the biological age, and he probably is just massively burnt out. It's something that there's very few athletes that we've actually seen have had like smooth runs in the last few years in particular. Like you name most of the big name, like Martin Van Riel a couple of years ago went MIA with a couple of injuries and problems. We've seen Vincent Louis do it. We saw Jan Frodeno do it. We saw Javier Gomez do it. We've seen Joe Skipper do it to an extent. We've seen so many of these athletes that have had to sort of step away from a break, and it's maybe that they haven't wanted to, but been forced to from an injury or something. Uh, there's a reason for it, right? They're operating at a level that most of the people listening to this cannot even comprehend.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean,
they're walking a fine line, a very fine line with between performance and immune systems and health.
mm, like I said, I just hope this isn't. And again, I don't know. I am so not medically au fait or trained. I have no idea, but I do hope that this isn't what we're starting to see as a bit of a trend because younger athletes are pushing themselves, to such extremes. But so yeah, fingers crossed. I just wanted to get better, and I wanted to get back doing what he does best. Bit more consistently would be nice in the future. So it's not like a lucky dip of Sam Laidlow performance, but no, just wish him nothing but the best on his road to recovery. Yeah.
Talking about pushing yourself to extremes,
Yes.
how do you feel about a 7:24:20 Ironman in your future, mate?
Not in my future, but I think this is something we're going to start talking about more and more and more often. Uh,
Yeah.
what the hell happened? They say everything's bigger in Texas. That's certainly the case. This was a weekend with some incredible performances across the field. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. Ironman Texas happened. Kristian Blummenfelt took the win in 7:24:20. Antonio Benito Lopez was second in 7:32:23 with Rudy Von Berg in third, 7:33:26. Daniel Beckengard, mate, fourth place, just off the podium. Very happy to see it. 7:35:04. And then Casper Stornes in fifth, 7:37:04. That was the men's side of things. What did you think of the men's race?
It went, to be honest, the second that Christian got out with that lead group, I said game over. Like, honestly, I thought it was a done, done, wrapped up. This is what was going to happen, unless something went wrong in terms of mechanical. I didn't see anybody challenging him. I think that I think he raced really, really smart. We saw him he never went off the front, particularly on the bike. Sort of just sat with that pack, let them do the work, was patient, stuck with Antonio Benito Lopez for a little bit on the run, and then went, okay, I've had enough of this. Toodaloo, and off he went, and off he went. It was Christian back doing what Christian does. This is what we see when he doesn't have mechanicals or GI issues or whatever it is. This is what he's
Yeah,
capable of, and this is yeah
by the
scary.
11-mile mark, he had a 1:11 on Lopez, and Von Berg was 4:32 back, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate.
Um,
Yeah.
so he did a half marathon in 1:15, and then his marathon time was 2:34:03. Um, so very, very good work from him. Um,
Now, can I just say, do you know that there were 17 athletes that went under 8 hours?
I do now.
17 athletes went under 8 hours at this race.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it?
The bike splits are just Cam Worth has set a new Ironman world record bike split with a 3:53, which I believe is at least a minute faster than the previous record, which was Andrew Starkowitz, which was from years ago. Mate, it's just crazy to me. Like Gustav Iden went sub,
Everybody's
and
getting
he,
faster and
yeah,
faster. It really was a very quick race. Big shout out to Andrew Horsford Turner as well, friend of the podcast, often presenter of the podcast whenever you're unable to come and join us. He did an 8:11:14, and he was right up there on the bike, just falling off a little bit towards the end of the run there. But good work, Andy. And yeah, everybody's getting faster and faster and faster, mate. And it does beg the question how the season is going to unfold and whether people can maintain this level of intensity, and how what sort of impact it's going to have on the long course sport going forward.
I think the one, I mean, I'm just going through the results now quickly. The like some really interesting things is looking at the run splits. So yes, the bikes were insane. Like so many people sub 4 hours. But you look at Kristian. Kristian ran a 2:34, and then you've got 2:41, 2:42, 2:41, 2:45, 2:45, 2:49, 2:50, 2:47, 2:51, 2:42, 2:48, 2:55, 2:46, 2:47. So yes, the times are getting much quicker, but we're not seeing it across the board. I think this is and again, I know that Joe did a deep dive into his training peaks data from Texas a couple of years ago for his Patreon, and he was saying that this is a course that has traditionally a very strong headwind one way and a very big tailwind the other way. It must have been just a zero wind day because that bike course is out on a huge highway, straight line. It makes sense that it would be quick. So I'm guessing it was just ideal conditions on the bike that led to this really, really fast time. But it is absurd to see how much faster Kristian ran than literally everyone else. Like, 7 minutes
Yeah,
quicker. Like it's just fucking hell. I don't even know what to say. It's
yeah, he
crazy.
really went for it, didn't he? Good on him. Good on him. Um, I'm intrigued to see where Christian Blumenfeld goes and what he does because he's just so fucking good, isn't he?
Mm,
And
mate.
I think he's going to win Nice. I can see that in his future.
Well,
And
you think
then
back
and
to
then
think
Kona's the big one for him, isn't it?
think back to St. George, right? Like, what was the how far back was he? He basically did the whole ride solo sorry, not Nice, in St. George. He basically did the whole ride solo. He didn't have the group with him, and was he? I'm guessing was he 8 minutes down off the bike or something? It was something ridiculous. No, sorry, he ran a 2:38 on that course. I can't remember what the gap was, but he ran a 2:38 on that course in St. George. And remember how many hills and stuff that like some of those stuff was pretty like yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a tough bike course but a very flat run course in Nice. Yeah, I'm that those guys better have a pretty substantial gap over him or be able to run the same as him. He's going to be a hard man to beat. Yeah, I don't even know what do you do. You can't
What do
outswim him.
you
You can't
do?
outbike him. You can't outrun him. I don't know how you beat Kristian at the moment unless something happens to him in terms of he overdoes it on the carbs or has another flat tire, which the Norwegian boys seem to be having a few of unfortunately lately. I don't think it's not a conspiracy. I think it's just some bad luck. But no, this was exceptional. Now, yeah, we could literally make this a. By the way, I'm not sure if you knew this about Kristian. Um, he actually won a WTCS world title in 2021. Did you know that?
Did he by fuck? No way.
Yeah, I
How do
know.
these things slip us by?
I know.
Wow.
Often forgotten, never forgotten by us ever on this podcast. But
Talking about spanking people on the run,
yeah,
the women's side of the race went that way as well.
before we get to the women's though, I just want to, are there any other little bits of, any other little things from the men's race that were of particular note to you? Because I do think there are some little things that are worth discussing. I mean, for
I mean, Gus,
example,
go
you
ahead.
go. Andy Horsford Turner's
Uh,
bike, I think, was exceptional. Like to me, that
yeah,
was a real.
Andy Horsford-Turner had a really strong bike. I think is a huge step in the right direction for him. Um, he was right up there, and then he needs to. I think it's a nutrition thing on the run. He's just got to get a few things right, and things will start coming good for him. I think Gustav finishing 13th,
Yeah.
26:54 down.
What do you think
What
about
do I
this?
think? I hope he's just being sensible and bringing himself slowly back up to where he was. Um, I think if he wasn't capable of returning to the levels he was at before, he wouldn't be finishing 13th. He'd be finishing 25th, 30th, So I think he's capable of getting back to where he was because I think 13th is a great finish, 7:51:15, a sub 8 Ironman. I think he can come back. What do you
The other,
think?
I hope so. There's again, I do not know. I haven't spoke a word to Gustav in years. I have literally have zero insight, but I do wonder because he's been making this return for what feels like a year now, and he's certainly getting back there. But I just like how good he was, and it does seem a particular run, and obviously that injury was pretty severe. I hope so, but then there's so many other factors, right? Like, and again, I don't know. This is just a general sort of observation, but to have achieved everything he achieved at such a young age, top 10 at the Olympics, multiple 70.3 world champion, Ironman Hawaii champion, T100 champion, he won that original Daytona. Like he has done so much at such an early age. You also wonder, like, they often say your first marathon, for example, your first Ironman is kind of your fastest because you don't know how much it's going to hurt. So you kind of have this ignorance is bliss. I wonder if knowing what it took to do that and then having some time away, if it's a thing he's willing to do again. That's kind of like obviously, physically I hope he's completely better, but I also wonder if, that he was at such an extreme point back then, if we will see him get back to that because, a lot of life has happened between then and now and he's grown a lot. He's found that success. He's probably got a lot more commitments in terms of sponsors, media, all sorts of other things. I don't know. It might be hard to find that motivation to go that deep again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Don't know.
I
We don't
still
know.
think 13th place speaks that he has.
With a mechanical. Don't forget, he did have a mechanical. So
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, women's race. Anything else on the men's you want to do before we get across to the women's?
I just think Cam Worth's bike split just reminding everybody
Yeah,
just how good he is on the bike. Like
he's
just
amazing, isn't he? What a ledge.
so good. Um,
What a ledge. Still doing it as well. Yeah. Got a lot of time for that man.
Same. Trevor Foley. I'm again don't know anything, but I saw that he put up a post saying he sort of struggled with his mental health post Kona, and to see him have a bad race here when he was my probably wild horse pick because I think he is somebody that can run with Kristian. I hope. I hope it's nothing. I hope he's okay because he's an athlete that I get very excited for racing, and I want to see him back at his best. So he withdrew. I think it was 120k into the bike off the top of my head, but yeah, hope that's just a little blip. Now we can talk about the women's race, mate. We have a new Ironman branded.
I remember Andy record. Yeah, Kat Matthews took the win in 8:10:34. Taylor Knibb in second place 8:20:15, and Lisa Perthier in 8:28:17 rounded off the podium. Alice Alberts in fourth and Sarah Svensk in fifth. Now, interestingly, the Cat swim was slower than Taylor's. Their bike was very, very similar, within a few seconds of each other. But then Cat Matthews absolutely hammered everybody on the run with a 2:49.19 ahead of Taylor's 2:3:04.43 and Lisa's 3:03:01. Remarkable run split, mate. Absolute trouncing on that one.
Absolute. When I saw the gap was 6 minutes off the bike, I thought that it was going to probably be Cat. I expected Taylor. Like, there's a fair bit to unpack here. I think that is, you're right. Her run, the other athlete in this race that I was very curious to see the run was Tamara Jewett, ran a 2:57. So we're talking 8 minutes slower. Not even the same ballpark. So Kat had this incredible run, which everybody rightly should be talking about. I think it's her bike because she rode almost the exact same. Well, actually, it's the combination. She rode the exact same bike split as Taylor Knibb, and everybody knows just how goddamn good Taylor Knibb is on a bike. Plus, factoring in the conditions where we saw how many men ride sub 4 hours. So clearly, excellent conditions. And Kat rode the same as her and then ran 15 minutes faster than her. It's just, wow,
Yeah, it's proper, isn't it? That's proper.
proper. The,
Yeah.
the, the,
Really, really good stuff.
how quickly she took that gap out of Taylor off the bike into the run and then kept going with it. Like, I honestly, I would have expected the gap to maybe take a bit longer for her to close down and maybe not like once you sort of get ahead, not go as, as far out as it did. But again, with the Pro Series point system, uh, every second literally counts. This was a domination, mate. Like a complete. Belinda was talking about the fact it's an early season race last week. We're not quite sure where athletes are at, so you could probably say that for Taylor Knibb. Although we did know that she opted out of the Singapore race for this one. So, and again, from at least what the commentary was saying, she's probably more focused on Hawaii, which is a legitimate sort of approach. But god damn, for Kat Matthews to come out in April, first race of the season, break the branded in this ridiculous, but the branded Ironman world record. Um, yeah, with that just incredible bike run combination. The swim was like her swim. I was surprised the gap was as big as it was. But just yeah, but there's nothing. They're faultless, absolutely flawless victory, mate, as you'd say.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And people sort of, I don't know, I feel like the consciousness of the sport considers her a really powerful bike rider, which she is. But I feel like her run is neglected in our consciousness, and our run is so good. She's such a strong runner.
Well,
I
the
don't think it
proof's in
will
the
be anymore.
the proof's in the pudding.
But
Like I
you know,
said, the fact that she did that to Tamara Jewett, like and but not even that. Taylor Knibb was in that sprint finish in the mixed team relay at the Olympics for a gold medal. She was with Beth Potter. When you start to actually unpack this and look at the late, mate, honestly, she outran like half the male pro field. She outbiked a bunch of them. It's just, it's like she probably beat half the male pro field, not half, but she beat a number of them. It's yeah. I mean, look, Anne Haug went what 8:02 last year in rote, which is still significantly faster. I want to see Kat Matthews did sub 7, a couple of sub 8. Sorry, we were there for that. Get Kat Matthews to Roth. Get her racing
yeah,
and how get Laura Phillip, get Lucy Charles, like get them
yeah,
all
yeah,
there. Super fast course. Let's see the women actually go under eight
yeah.
hours because
Pay the
I think
money, get her to the start line.
it's going to happen pretty soon, I reckon. But
Yeah, because we don't,
um,
no one likes this Ironman branded record business. We want to see her take the actual iron distance record.
is there anything else in the women's race like we did with the men's race? Are there any other little bits, little tidbits or things you're interested in that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, Tamara Jewett was way off the pace, eh?
Way off. Very surprising.
Way off.
40
Yeah,
minutes,
it is
37
surprising.
minutes, 37 minutes. And that's for sixth.
Yeah. Other than that, the gaps go out more than the men's between first and 10th place. Um, but yeah, I think the whole story of this race really was that top two, wasn't it? It was Cat Matthews and Taylor Knibb. And now, hopefully, Taylor's got a rival in Kate Woff in the T100 and a rival at the Ironman Pro Series in Cat Matthews. And maybe we're going to start seeing some more interesting racing in the future.
Well, look at this, and I know you. This I can already see a squirming at the concept of what I'm about to ask you to do, but it is one of my favorite questions to ask and discuss. Here we are, early in the season. We both know that they've got their eyes set on Kona this year, women's racing Kona. Based on this performance, who are you picking?
I would be foolish to look past Cat Matthews, I think.
I completely agree. Just because Taylor's weapon is the bike,
Yeah.
she didn't put any time into Kat. Kat's not going to be by herself in Kona either. She's going to have others to work with. I think Kat Matthews is pretty going to be pretty hard to beat as things currently stand. I mean, we saw Nice, she got well and truly beaten by Laura Phillip, and you've got to add her in. But at this point in the season, I'd be going, Jesus Christ, Kat Matthews is looking pretty hard to beat. She'd be
Yeah.
going into this with a lot. Like I believe, knowing that the sort of athlete that Kat is in terms of, and she's quite public about the sort of the mental side of sport that she, the pressure and stuff she puts on herself and the way that she's very analytical and thinks about things. I think she'd be taking a lot of confidence away from this and banking that for Kona.
Yeah, agreed. And also, this was a very hot race, which
Tamara Jewett though, yeah, mate. I mean, from the Pro Series point of view, I haven't even thought about what the point. Is it worth anyone's while to get points at this race? They're probably all going to get better points from a 70.3. So basically, anybody going for the Pro Series is probably going to have to do another Ironman to try to top up the points, which is not ideal.
no, no. Well, I think this race, like I said, was all about those top two. I think the points is almost irrelevant here.
I want to quickly, and just because it wouldn't be an episode of this podcast without me complaining about something,
What are you moaning
is
about?
I want to talk about the broadcast a little bit. And I know that it's like Tim's triathlon broadcast corner. Mate, the commentary in this was one of the worst things I've ever seen happen.
I
I
didn't watch
understand.
it because I have now reached the point where I refuse to watch them until they do better. So
Yeah,
what was
okay.
wrong with it?
So, and I'm just going to talk about one moment because, firstly, I believe it's Michael Lovato got athletes' names wrong all the time. At one point, he was calling Taylor Knibb and Antonio Benito Lopez for some reason that I still can't make sense of. But what he did that I found particularly unforgivable was as it was getting towards the moment where Cat Matthews was going to pass Taylor Knibb. Now, I would assume, as a fan of sport and watching other sports, that if you've got what is going to be the defining moment of the race, where the athlete in second is going to potentially try to pass the athlete in first for the winning move, you could say. You try to build up a bit of anticipation, a bit of excitement, actually try to make something of it. Instead, what happened is the commentary talked about how incredible Taylor's performance was and how good she was performing, and it's just that Kat Matthews is in the race, and that's the only reason that she's not going to win the race. It was one of the weirdest ways to ever commentate such a like what was actually quite an exciting moment of the race. It was just so bland and vanilla, and I honestly felt like I have been known to be quite critical of the broadcast. This was like zero. I'm trying not to swear as much. No, there was so little interest in what was happening. It was literally like he was just going to the man. Here we go, and there's okay. Cat Matthews is pastor, and did they say anything? No, doesn't look like any word. There was no excitement. There was no emotion. There was no
So
anything.
it was devaluing the moment completely by saying, well, the only reason she's not going to win is because there's other athletes in the race, as opposed to hyping up that fight and that moment.
It really, that's what it felt like. It felt like to me is that it was, yeah, like kind of, yeah, devaluing what Cat was doing. Like Cat was out there literally breaking their branded world record, and there was just there was no hype for it. And I mean, I said this about the Oceanside broadcast where it sounded like, Crowe was bored. And I know that we talked about that challenge to Benny Yass commentary where God knows what that was. But stop getting people who don't want, like, stop getting people with no interest to do this because it's not meant to be it's not a David Attenborough BBC documentary. It's meant to be live sport, and it's just it's not it. So again, I'm sorry to be a cracked record, and I'm sorry that it annoys people when I do this, but I really just felt like that moment in particular was really let down by just just piss poor commentary, like really
Oh, if
unacceptable
there's anything
commentary.
you're allowed to complain about, like I said, I'm on a refusal to watch their races now. I can't deal with that
Did you?
level of.
Did you? One thing that actually this made me chuckle is during the race I turned it on probably halfway through the swim because I actually didn't realize that it started. So that, again, God bless our Patreon, www.patreon.com/talking triathlon WhatsApp group where they were like, oh, blah, blah, they started chatting about this. Oh shit, okay, it started. I turned it on and just for what I thought would be a bit of a laugh, the second I turned the YouTube live stream on, I started my stopwatch to see how quickly there was some form of promotion. I don't. You wouldn't have seen this. Do you know how long my stopwatch went before the first ad started playing?
15 seconds?
4 seconds.
Fuck off.
4 seconds.
I thought I was taking the piss with
4 seconds.
15.
So much so that when I put the screen, because I put a screenshot, I laughed. I put a screenshot in the WhatsApp group and I said, "Can you believe it? 4 seconds till they're talking about TriDot." And one of our patrons, Tom, said, "Oh, 4 minutes isn't bad." And I said, "Brother, that ain't minutes. That's seconds. 4 seconds."
Crazy.
So yes, terrible. And I saw that on your left are doing a petition. So everybody go check out on your left on Instagram. They're doing a petition for Ironman to go to the quad box, 4 screens in a screen showing what's happened in the race. I fully support this message. It's
Yeah.
just there's so much, there's so many things they could do to make it. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about this, but the commentary was atrocious, and it has been basically every race so far this year. Get Will McCloy in there. Like the on your left, you're going to start the petition for Quad Box. Let's start the Get Will McCloy into the Ironman commentary team. I will start that petition. If you want to sign it, come to our Instagram. I'll put. I actually I'm making a note right now. Start Will petition.
How
And
to drain the life energy out of Will McCloy. Make him
how
commentate
long can
Ironman.
he? How long can he? Yeah, that's what we should do. Like we're talking on our Patreon episode, we were talking about a marathon where we put Lionel Sanders in an elite field. It's like how far can he go keeping up with him? This could be a similar sort of thing. Like how long can Will make it before he just completely gives up commentating in
Yeah.
Ironman?
Yeah. How long does Will's mental health survive this endeavor?
Okay, speaking of mental health, I don't know. That's not a whatever. That's a bad segue. We should next talk about the T100 start list for San Francisco have been announced.
Yes, they have. Do you have them? I do not have them in front of me.
I do not. I am just making a note of what time we are up to, and I will pull them up. But the main draw card you have already spoken about is probably in the women's race because we have a face-off that you're looking forward to.
We have obviously Kate Woff won the first T100 surprise victory for her and for those of us watching, I think. Obviously, we know how much of a quality athlete she is, but to just rock up at her first T100 and take that win, you know, amazing. Well done. And hopefully, finally, we've got somebody who can take on Taylor Knibb in the T100 races and make it a little bit more competitive and a little bit more interesting. So, you asked me, I think it was in the bonus episode, how excited I am about the next T100 race. And my level of excitement is higher than normal because I'm intrigued to see how the Kate Wolf Taylor Knibb standoff goes. Hopefully, we've now got somebody who can toe the line and push Taylor a little bit harder than she has been so far in any of these T100s.
So we've got of the contracted athletes, that's worth saying because there's 20 contracted athletes and they only have to do, I think, 4 or 5 races. Kate Woff, Taylor Spivey, Ashley Gentle, Grace Thick, Marta Sanchez, Julie Darren, Jessica Learmonth, Flora Duffy, Lucy Byron, Paula Finlay, Taylor Knibb. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of the 20 starting this race. But it's a pretty good 11. I think putting Paula Finlay in there is good. She was very, very good in Oceanside. She's an athlete that always, generates interest in the race. But yeah, to me, it's similar. Kate Woff, Taylor Knibb. We saw Taylor absolutely dominate this race and I mean dominate. I'm curious to see if she's going to have it that way this year, especially with the way that Jess and Kate went off the front of the bike. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it really is going to be interesting. Like you say, disappointing. There's less than the 20 athletes there, but because significantly less, then missing nine. But it is a good 11 to have towing that start line. So it's going to be a unique fight. I'm really intrigued to see. I'd love to see Kate Woff have a blinder and take a second victory, and really launch this T100 series into the how's it going to go.
What do you think what would it do for you if this happens and Taylor dominates? So there's been this, Kate had the fastest T100, biggest winning margin in T100 history. So on paper, we're all going, Jesus Christ, this is like, here we go, finally someone who can challenge Taylor. What happens if Taylor goes and puts 10 minutes into her? Like, what does that do for the
Then my
narrative of this?
interest goes back to where it was before Singapore. I mean, I
No
was
pressure, Kate.
expecting I was expecting Taylor Knibb to dominate this season. That didn't mean I wasn't interested to watch these races and intrigued to watch these races play out because first place is only first place and there are going to be battles further down the field. I wasn't bored by it. I was just like, well, Taylor's likely to dominate, but we should have some good racing behind her. Right now, I'm a bit more excited than I was because we could be looking at a wild card in the season that makes it even more exciting. If that doesn't happen, then I go back to where I was. It's going to be an interesting season of racing, and we'll see if anybody can crack the Taylor Knibb code.
Well, before we turn our attention to the men's start list, this is a little game that I like to play, and that is we have 9 wildcards available in the women's race. Who would you like to see them give wildcards to? I can think
Oh,
of one name off the top. One name comes to mind for me straight away.
go on
Please,
then.
Mike Kingma. Come on, we need to get
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Kingma
I'd
into
love
one
to
of
see
these
that,
races.
Mike. I'd love to
Georgia
see
Taylor
Mike
Brown.
get
Georgia Taylor Brown.
Georgia Taylor Brown. Yeah, yeah. I've heard rumors about Georgia getting wild cards and entries and stuff, but
Don't know anything, mate. Don't know
yeah,
anything.
okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Um,
Um,
who
yeah,
else?
Georgia Taylor Brown, Maya Kingma would be great. Hey,
Who else?
who else would be good to see up there?
Laura Lindemann.
Or Lindemann would work.
What
I don't know,
about?
man. Like that's about it, I think, in terms of
Oh, man, it's funny. They're all short course athletes that come to mind for me. Like they're the ones that I always sort of go to. I'd love to just
yeah.
see Beth Potter do one. I don't necessarily think I'd expect her to excel just because of the bike factor. But she's also sort of had this weird. I don't really know what Beth Potter's doing at the moment post Olympics. Um,
No.
I'm just trying to think. Maybe Emma Lombardi, the young French.
Stick
She's so
Sandra
young.
Grand in there, eh?
Well, apparently she's doing some this year. I've heard that whisper. I
Was she?
don't.
Oh, okay.
Apparently,
All right.
no, nothing confirmed. That's just something I've heard on the grapevine. Uh, I'd be surprised if she did, personally.
Yeah,
I
so would
don't.
I.
I
So would
don't
I.
see
Yeah.
her doing that. I'm just trying to think if there's any other women that really jump out. I mean, even though I'd still love to see put Kat Matthews in this race, just because of the
I was
fact that
just
she
about to say, you
was
took the words out of my mouth. Yeah. Just, bounce off that, bounce off what's just happened and come and put some effort into this.
Natalie Van Couveren. Give her a wild card. I think that she was quite good in Geelong. She's racing Port Mac this weekend. Yeah, they're the two main for me. Mai Kingma. I really think Mai Kingma could do so well at this distance. Yeah, Mai Kingma's the big, and then Georgia Taylor Brown.
Yeah, yeah. Agree. Georgia Taylor Brown would be great.
Let's look at the men's start list. Now, the big one straight away to worth note is that there is no Hayden Wild, unfortunately, but we have got Martin Van Riel, Yuri Kulin, Antonio Benito Lopez, Sam Long, Mika Newt, Rico Bogan, Justus Nischlag, Vincent Louis, Nicholas Mann, Yella Gaines, Jason West, Kyle Smith, Morgan Pearson, Peter Heinrich. So that's 12, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
It's a
9,
good
10,
12.
11, 12, 14. 14, sorry. 14.
It's a real shame that Hayden's not there, especially after what he did in Singapore. I'm intrigued to see if Sam Long starts or if how he
Why?
goes. Uh,
Tide assisted swim,
because
strong bike course.
because I've got my Sam's muddled up, and I was thinking about Sam Laidlow.
Oh, okay, I was thinking.
That's why I was
It's
intrigued
like
as to whether
I
he
thought you were about to.
starts.
I
Yeah.
thought you were about to go, Tim. I can't say this. We have to edit this out. I know something.
No, no, I got my Sam's muddled up. Sam Long is just unique, and I really would like to see. I love seeing how he goes. He is one of the most entertaining things within this style of racing for me.
Yeah, I agree.
What are
I
you
think the
excited
fact
about on the men's side?
we've got the three back again from last year, the Rico, Kyle, Martin Van Riel, whether we'll get a repeat of that. But the big one for me is Morgan Pearson. I am so keen to see Morgan Pearson in this race. American on home soil. We spoke about runners earlier in our probably on our other. I can't remember where we did it, but I always forget to talk about Morgan Pearson. The guy's run a 101 fresh marathon, sorry, half marathon. The guy is a gun runner. He's probably the only athlete I see who could actually compete with Alex Yee and Hayden Wild in terms of the run. He's just a lot more inconsistent, but the guy can be a front pack swimmer. His bike should, he's a big guy, so I expect him to be able to put down some decent power, but his run is killer. So put him in this race. Yes, please. That's something I'm very, very interested for.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I also think
Yeah.
because we have Nice this year, and I know that Martin Ben Real now has a Nice slot. I've heard whispers that Ella Gaines wants a Nice slot. I'm guessing Antonio Benito Lopez has a Nice slot after the weekend in Texas. We could see some sort of indicators because this has got a lot of hill, a lot of climbing on the bike. Be interesting to see how that sort of what that does for people because we saw Magnus last year sort of get isolated on this course and never really feature. He was always, he was riding through the field and back, and he didn't get up the front with those smaller guys. And then we
No.
saw him, do really well in this. So I am sort of looking at it from that point of view too to see what we could see. But no, Yuri Coolin. Yeah, it's a good, good 14. Jason West is on there, which would be interesting. I think he just had a baby, so congratulations to Jason.
Oh, that's cool.
Peter Heinrich post broken collarbone in New Zealand too, so he's going to be back for this race. So yeah,
Yeah,
this
it'd
was a
be
good
interesting
course.
watching it. Yeah.
I liked this race last year. This was probably the pick of them for me.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
at least in the men. The
Agreed.
women's race was again just
Yeah, that men's finish was outstanding, wasn't it?
so I think we could see something similar there. But let's play the same game again, mate. We've got six wildcards. Who would you like to see wildcards given to for this one?
Alex Yee.
Why not? Like,
Yeah,
actually, why
why
not?
not?
Why
Just
not?
stick him in there, see what happens.
Magnus. I'd like to see them give Magnus a wildcard for this one.
Not Ditlev.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, fair play.
Yep, I really
Yeah,
do. Again, the bike. I like seeing him because it's a bit different. Like he's such a good TT rider. This puts him out of his comfort zone a little bit, and I like to see because it's not like he does badly. I just do like I like to see what their normal environment is, take him out of it, put him something a little bit different. I like to see that. So I'd like to see Magnus there. Young Sam Dickinson is someone I wouldn't mind seeing them give a
Yeah, yeah,
wild card to. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he'd be really good on this course. Anyone else jump out at you?
I mean, Andrew Horse will turn. Give him a wild card.
Why
Why the
not?
fuck not?
There's six of them
Yeah,
available, mate. So
yeah.
I think
Why
there's
the
going to be,
fuck not?
but like legitimately, this race last year, remember we saw how crazy the swim times were because it was so massively tight assisted.
Yeah, yeah.
The name we haven't mentioned, and I'm surprised neither of us have, is the man himself, Lionel Sanders. That is
He's not going to
who
do it though, is he?
that
He's
is
never
who
going to
they
do a
should give a
T100.
wild card to. Why not?
I
Come
don't
on,
fucking know. Don't know
get
what's
in there,
going on. I'd
Lionel.
love to see him do a T100 race.
This one in particular.
Like,
This one in particular.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if this is the one where Lionel Sanders or Sam Long could negate their swim
Mm.
issues and be right up there in this race, causing a problem.
My thoughts exactly. Yeah, that's T100. It's the end of next month. I think it's the end of May. So it's a bit of a gap between the two of them. Uh, Hopefully it's as exciting as it was last year. I can't remember what the times are and stuff, but yeah, that's it was. I really think it was a good race last year. I think the course was probably the most dynamic. I mean, all the construction stuff on the far end of the bike course wasn't great, but in terms of going up the climbs, everything, I thought was really
Yeah,
good. Seeing them sort of run off that. It wasn't on the flat thing. It was on that sort of what would you call it, like trail was pretty interesting as well. So I thought that was good.
yeah. I like the run course. I enjoyed watching it, and I think a bit better weather would be nicer this year though, so we get some better views.
Mm, indeed. Well, Jimbo, we can briefly. I think the only thing I want to touch on is that Gian Laher made her debut 70.3 before, appearance over the weekend and came second. Another athlete that I would like. There we go. That's another one I'd like to see get a wild card. Gian Laher for the women's race. I believe that was Valencia 70.3, but I don't have enough information or opinions to really speak about that race. So I think instead, what we will do, Jimbo, is let's wrap it up there for this week. Uh, we have got a couple of minutes left, and I did want to do something that's a little bit selfish. So I hope you'll allow me this rare indulgence. I have released my new podcast has started. We've put out the first
Nice.
like explainer episode last week and the first real episode this week. It's called The Endurers. It's myself and Will McCloy are the hosts, and each week there's going to be 8 interviews this season, so we're doing it seasonally. Each episode is going to be with a different endurance athlete. At the moment, they're all triathletes, but we're looking at some athletes from other sports too for some very open, real, vulnerable conversations about the challenges they faced in sport or things they've had to overcome. Each episode is very different so far. I've recorded 5 of the interviews so far. And then basically after the interview, me and Will get together and we sort of talk about the key points that we think is something that everybody who listens can maybe take and implement into their own life. It is not a triathlon podcast. It is much more about mental health, which is something that has become increasingly important to me in the last year, in particular, probably the last 6 months, especially. And I hope that through doing this, we really start to normalize these conversations and give a lot more light to things that I know aren't spoken about enough. So I would ask, yeah,
It's
please, if
really,
you're
really good.
interested.
I've
Thanks,
listened
mate.
to the first episode. It was really, really good. It if I'm going to invest my time in a podcast, then something I want from it is to inspire me to think about things in my own life and things that have affected me. And that interview you did with Tyler certainly did that for me.
Thanks, mate. That's really kind. And I hope that what this will do for this audience, this obviously is a triathlon audience, is you'll have an in because it is triathletes, but it will then hopefully open you guys up to something that isn't really dealt with in the sport. So maybe it's a good sort of way to start thinking about some things that maybe you haven't. And it's like it's not all like hippie, positive. There's some pretty real stuff in there. And again, I've done some really, really great conversations. Every single one of them, I've just been blown away by how open and honest everybody's been, and I'm so grateful to all of those people. So yeah, if you guys would like to, please check it out. The Endurers, if you could jump on, give it a review. All that positive stuff. It's only audio. There's no video like there is with this one. But yeah, I'd really appreciate if you give the Instagram account a follow as well. It's the.endurers. But yeah, just search the Endurers wherever you listen to podcasts and you'll find it. There's a episode 0, which is a bit of an explainer with me and Will, and then episode 1 is Tyler. Next week's episode 2, Belinda. They come out Monday. So yeah, that's my plug. Jimbo, thank you for allowing me to do that. If people want to find out more about this podcast, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T Ford14 on Instagram. I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We are on Instagram as talking triathlon. If you join the Patreon group, you'll get access to the monthly bonus episodes and the social group, and we'll put you in the WhatsApp group, which is a really interesting, engaging, and supportive place to be. If you've got any comments, then best place you can do that is add them to the bottom of the YouTube video because we'll both see those and we'll respond in good time.
Yeah, honestly, some of the stuff we get on there is so good. Like I
Yeah,
really like it's informing me about things that I wasn't aware of or giving me really interesting perspectives. Even just like some people have said, "Oh, I don't think it's fair you've said that." And I hadn't thought about it that way. So it's been good as well to sort of make me a little bit aware about how things can maybe be interpreted to be a little bit more careful as well. And so again, I really appreciate the spirit uh, in which those comments left. And it's just, it's like I said, it's good, constructive conversation. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, it's a good place. Thanks everybody for doing that. We did just record a bonus episode before this, so that'll be up as well. So if anybody wants to head to patreon.com/talking triathlon, James Bale, happy birthday, mate. I haven't got you anything yet. I'm sure I'll organize another fun. I got you a lordship once. I got you a book or something. I'll get you something this time. I'll get you something good. But until next week, Jimbo, talk to you later.
cheerio.